Hello.
Hello and welcome to our third week of handstand focused workshop. So for the past 2 weeks we've been looking at the position of the body for handstands. The first week we looked at from the hands down to the core, and from the second week we focused on core and the lower part of the body, so down to the tips of the toes. So today we're going to be working all of these areas and then bringing it together to spend a little bit more time looking at ways to practice handstand, either freestanding if that's where you are in your practice, or if you have access to a wall, you can use a wall as well. And then might bring in some options with a chair. Okay, so if we have time for that, so if you have a chair handy, you just have it close by. Yeah, I'm going to grab mine so it's next to us. If there's any issues with the sound or the visuals, just stick it in the chat and I'll try to fix it. So we'll get started just warming up the wrists, and then anybody wants to join, they can join. For any of the exercises, if you feel that you need more time for it, feel free to pause it and then take your own time. So there will be some exercises we'll be doing 10 reps of them, or holds for a minute, or so if you need more time, just give it a pause and then you can continue once you've done it in your own time. So when you're ready, we're going to bring our hands together. We're just going to slowly start to wake up the hands and the wrists. So we'll just interlace the fingers, bringing your right pinky first on the outside and then clasping the hands together. Draw the elbows together and lift them so they're in line with your shoulders. And you're going to think about wrapping the shoulder blades around the front of the body and keeping the ribs drawn in, and then start to roll your wrists out. So we're warming up the wrists and also just gently starting to activate the shoulders. And then we'll roll them the other way. Release the grip, and then we're going to take the left pinky now on the outside. So you change the grip. And we'll roll again, one direction. And then the other. Nice. Okay, now bring the hands out in front of us. We're going to think about really extending out through the hands. So we're trying to wake up our hands and we start to connect with the palm of the hand, all through the fingertips, the knuckles, and just feel our way in, really stretching them out as we bring in some more wrist movement. So the arms are extended at shoulder height, and we're just going to draw the hands in towards us. So you're flexing your wrists, extend the palms up and out, really stretch through those fingers and then bring them back down. So we're taking nice extended rotations. And then again, change the other way. It's really important that we take time to warm up and take care of our wrists. You're now going to flick the fingers. So imagine you've got water and you're trying to flick it off your hands. We're going to take 5 flicks here. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take the arms up overhead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to continue like this down to 0. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Up. 1, 2, 3, 4. To the sides. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Top. 1, 2, 3. Sides. 1, 2, 3. Forward. 1, 2. Up. 1, 2. Sides. 1, 2. Front. 1. Up. 1. Sides. 1. So you should feel like your wrists are starting to warm up again. So I'm just going to suggest that as you as you're working on your wrists, if you feel like you just need a moment to kind of stretch them out, or you just feel like they're starting to get a little bit tired, whenever you can, we'll take a stretch the opposite way. So just take the back of the hands to the side of the body and just counter stretch the wrists out whenever you feel that you need this. So we're going to bring some weight into the hands now. We're just going to go over again the hand position for our handstand. So if you practice yoga normally, you'll be used to having your middle finger pointing forward. Here we're going to try to turn the hands here and have the first finger pointing forward. And we're looking for the spider position with the fingertips. So you can doming the fingers out and focusing on the fingertips pressing into the mat and the knuckles of the palm into the mat. Our hands should be shoulder width apart, so that's usually narrower than you think it is, so just double check with yourself. And then bring the knees back into a tabletop position. We're going to start with knuckle push-ups. So the goal here is to keep the fingertips pressing into the mat. The fingers themselves are slightly domed out, and the knuckles of the palm are pressed firmly into the floor, especially the first finger knuckle. And we're just going to lift the palm only and place it back down. Lift just the palm and place it back down. You're going for 10 of these. If you find this a little bit too much for you, you can take your knees closer towards your hands and release a little bit of the weight back into the legs. Or if you find it quite easy and you want to make it a little bit more intense, take the knees further back. But always keep the shoulders over the wrists. Okay, so keep going. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And release. Give yourself a moment to sit back on your heels, and we'll take a counter stretch of the wrists. So just going over what I mentioned last week, that for a handstand, we want to ideally be holding a strong, tense body shape. So we're looking to activate all the right areas of the body in order to make a nice, strong shape which stacks, which makes it easier to balance. Once we've found that straight shape, we then maintain the straight shape, and the balance comes from the hands. Okay, so the body stays still, and we're looking to use the hands to find balance. So we work on these two things separately and then bring them together to find our nice straight handstand shape. So just keep that in mind as we move on into the next ones. Okay, so coming back into our tabletop position, we're going to activate our shoulders. So working on scapula protraction and retraction. In our handstand, we want to have the shoulders protracted. So we want them rolled around the body, and we want a slight curving in the upper back. Okay, but in order to get this nice and strong and healthy, we need to exercise it both ways. So bring ourselves into this tabletop. Okay, or you're also welcome to do this from a plank position. I'll show you first from the tabletop. So we are going to inhale here. As you exhale, you squeeze your shoulder blades together. And then inhale, push the floor away. Allow the shoulder blades to wrap around the side of the body and round into the upper back. You exhale to lower. And inhale. So you see this is just isolated to the shoulders. We don't want the spine moving around. The spine stays nice and steady, and the core stays engaged. So keep going. If you find this nice and easy, you can slide your feet back into a plank position. Keep your bum low, and then continue up and down. Exhale, shoulder blades drop together. Inhale, round into the upper back. Exhale, inhale, exhale, and inhale. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, and release. And give your shoulders a little roll. Good. Okay, so we are going to look now at engaging our ribs and our abs. So to do that, we come to lie on our backs. And we're going to be doing some time grips of different things. I'll just get my timer handy. So if you come to lie down on your back, so the goal for these exercises are to engage the lower abs and get the lower back to connect with the floor. Okay, so to engage this, it's easiest if you bring your knees up towards your chest and then find that connection of lower back to floor. And this is what we want to maintain. So it feels fairly easy to get there with the knees close to the chest. But then as we start to bring the legs up and lower them down, you'll find that this is a little bit more challenging. Okay, so we're going to take the legs as far down as you can in order, well, keeping in mind that you want that connection of lower back to floor. See how far you can take your legs down, maintaining that, just as our first experiment. Really rooting down lower abs to the floor. And then bring the legs back up. Okay, so for the first exercise, I'm going to be taking the legs down as far as they can go, keeping that connection lower back to floor, and then bring the legs back up. Down and back up. Yes, and when you're placing your hands on your lower abs, you can feel that they're activating, and as the legs lower down, you can feel them working even harder. And so we're going to be doing this for a minute. I'll just stick my timer on. Okay, so when you're ready, resume your position. You start with the knees close, make sure you've got the connection there, and then reach the feet up towards the sky. And then we'll get going. Okay, so the legs lowered down and come back. Lower down and come back up. You'll see how you can bring your breath in here to support this. I like to inhale up and exhale down. Inhale up and exhale down. Keep pointing through the toes and feel this stretching out through the front of the legs. And be mindful to keep the shoulder blades connected to the floor. And we're past halfway. We have 10 seconds left. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And stop. Hug the knees in towards the chest. Okay, the next one we're going to do 30 seconds of each leg. Okay, so we're going to have both legs stretched up towards the sky. I'll just take a moment to demonstrate. Okay. Making sure that connection is still there. We're going to take this right leg down and just pulse it for 10. And once we get to 10, we're going to bring the leg back up. Connect the legs, take the same leg back down for 10. Up and then down for 10. Okay, you're doing this for 30 seconds and then we will go on to do the left side. Let's put the timer back on. Okay, so getting ready with your right leg ready to pulse. Checking in with the connection of the floor. And let's go. Right leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Connect the feet. Right leg back down. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right leg back up. Leg down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bring the leg back up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 30 seconds is up. So you can stop and draw the knees back in towards the chest. And then take both legs back up towards the sky and prepare to do the same on the left side. Okay, so left leg now. And when you're ready, left leg goes down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bring it back up. Down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lift it back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back up. Down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plank is up. Draw the knees back in towards the chest and give them a hug. Okay, so the next one is same, working on lower back to floor. Okay, so still working in the same area, lower abs. We're going to make a sweeping movement with the legs. Okay, so we're going to start with the knees in towards the chest. We're going to take the legs up towards the sky, lower them down as far as you can as you did before, and then draw the knees back in towards the chest. Okay, that movement of the legs being extended and drawing them in, this is where, well, I find it really is where I'm tested of that connection and keeping the lower abs engaged. Okay, so you can be really mindful throughout the whole movement, keeping it nice and firmly connected. Okay, so we're going to do that for a minute. The abs should definitely be awake now. Okay, so let's go together. Legs go up, lower them down as far as you can without losing that connection. Bring the knees back in towards the chest. Extend them back up towards the sky and lower them down. Bring them back into the chest and reach them up, lowering them down. Keep going. Notice if there's lots of tension in your neck and your shoulders, and see if you can find a way to soften this. You know, maybe through your breath or just smiling or moving your jaw around. 15 seconds left. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And stopping there. Lovely. Good job. Okay. So when you're ready, you can come up to a seated position, and we're going to play, still working on the core. This is the last, like really drilling in the lower ab exercises here. Okay, so this is the last one in the set. We're going to start in what's similar to an Avasana, or is an Avasana. Okay, you're going to sit up nice and tall, making sure to lengthen out the lower back and keep the collarbones and chest lifted high. You're going to extend the arms forward and sit back slightly, still keeping everything long and lifted, and hover the feet off the floor. Okay, and we're going to keep the upper back and legs and feet off the floor. We're going to lower ourselves down, so we're opening up, using our core to lower down. The lower back is going to connect to the floor, but the upper back and the shoulders is not. And you're going to inhale, bring yourself back up, avoiding touching the floor if you can. Okay, so we've done 1, we're going to go for 9 more if you can. Okay, if you need to stop and take a break and then come back to it, feel free to pause. Okay, so let's go out. Inhale. And exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, take a moment, bring the knees in towards the chest, give yourself a hug. Let's just roll on to our fronts for a moment, and we're just going to kind of soften and open up all of that a little bit, because it feels particularly tight and tense, which is what we want, but we're going to just soften it a little bit before we move on. So come on to your belly. Bring your hands under your shoulders. And let's just take an up dog or a baby cobra, depending on what feels good for your body. Please, I'm going to inhale, lift the chest through and push up. You reach the collarbones up and forward, while the hips are softened down. You choose whether you make this more active or just let the legs soften and be heavy on your mat. Great. Okay, and then come back into a seated position just for a moment. Okay, so working on the lower abs is good for your core, obviously, but it's also good for your pelvic position in your handstand. Okay, so it's quite common to go into a handstand and have your bum kind of sticking out and the lower back is kind of crunched together. Okay, so this is going to throw you off balance. You want to be really squeezing your bum, your glutes, lengthening out the lower back as much as you can. Here's a nice idea which demonstrates it quite well, because if you had a belt buckle on, you want the belt buckle pointing up towards you. Okay, so if your pelvis is tilted back, it's going to be facing down. If you tuck your tailbone under, squeeze your bum, it draws that imaginary belt pointing up towards the sky. And this is a position you want your pelvis in your handstand. So it really opens up the front of the legs and the front of the hips as well. Okay, so from here we're going to do a little bit of hip opening. Okay, this gives us access to different handstand shapes. Also takes some of the pressure of going up into your handstand. Okay, so we want to keep our energy for holding our handstand, not for the entrance. Okay, so we're making the entrance as easy as possible by making the core strong, finding the right position. And if you've got flexibility in the legs and the hips, it will help you to get up there with ease. Okay, so we're going to do a little hip sequence. So we're going to bring ourselves over into downward facing dog. In order to start stretching the legs out properly, let's take a nice deep bend into that right leg and reach our left heel towards the floor. And then switch it over. The left knee draws in with the right heel behind you. And then switch it over one more time on each side. Lovely. And bring both heels in the direction of your mat equally together. We're going to inhale and reach our right leg up behind us. So we're focusing on what we want our legs to be doing here in our handstand. So we're going to point through those toes and really try and reach out through the front of the leg. So you want to feel the front of the leg nice and active. Allow your right hip to drop so it stays in line with your left hip for here, for now. You're going to use an inhale. You're going to bring that right knee in. You're going to think about compression in your core. Okay, so really suck your core in. Bring that right knee to your chest. Bring yourself over, protract your scapula so you've got that rounding in the upper back, shoulders over the wrists, so you can touch your right knee to your chin or your nose. And then we're going to step that right foot through nice and gently. Okay, let's drop our back knee to the floor and untuck the toes, and we'll lift ourselves up into a low lunge position. We're just taking a moment here. Then you're going to draw that right hip back and the left hip forward. And then when you're ready, we're going to tuck that back toe and lift the back knee up off the floor. And then we're going to take a bend into the left knee. So we're not putting it down, we're just bending it. And then you're going to think about that pelvic position of tucking the tailbone under, lifting that belt buckle up towards the sky. And you'll feel an increased stretch to the front of the left thigh. And then with that, keeping that nice and strong, then see if you can start to straighten out your left leg. If you can't straighten it out completely, that's okay. We're focusing on the pelvic position and the hips here. Lovely. Okay, let's take our hands down to the inside of our right foot. I'm just going to maneuver myself around so you can see what I'm doing. So we're going to walk our right foot to the outer edge of our mat. Okay. If you have space in your hips, you might want to move that left knee back a little bit. And you're going to roll to the outside of your right foot. Allow your right knee to open out to the side. Our right hand, we're going to bring it to our inner thigh and take tissue and roll it outwards. Keep rolling it, rolling it. Encouraging that hip to open out. You're welcome to stay here. Or you can take that right arm to the sky as you take an inhale. And on your exhale, we'll reach that right hand back. Opening up the chest. Inhale, come bring your arm back to the center. And draw your right knee back in towards you. You're now going to either stay on the hands and encourage that left hip to soften, maybe drawing the left knee back slightly. Or if you have space in your body to do so, you can come down onto your forearms. Okay, there's ways of making this more active and also just to bring in more elements of what we want in our handstand. So if you are on your forearms or your hands actually, you can bring in that scapula position, okay? So rather than just kind of like relaxing into this and letting your chest hang down, you're going to press the floor away either with the hands or the forearms and round into the upper back and work on keeping that active. If you want to bring it even more in, you can tuck your back toes and lift your back knee, reaching your left heel behind you. Let's take 5 breaths here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And let's release the back knee just for a moment and tuck the toes and just let everything soften. And then we're going to take our right hand to the outside of our right foot and heel toe that right foot back into the center of the mat. Okay, press the hands into the floor nice and firmly. Again, tuck your back toes and lift the back knee. Okay, so take your right leg back. I want you to think about making as much space as you can in the front of the body. So you want to hollow out your navel. You're really sucking everything in. The ribs are drawn in. You've got that rounding in the upper back. Make your right knee connected to your chest and just lift the foot. And then take the leg back to your plank position. You're welcome to take a vinyasa here, or you can just go straight back to downward dog and take rest there for a couple of breaths. And once we're all back in downward facing dog, we're going to take an inhale and do our left side. So our left leg is going to come up. Again, pointing through those toes, really reaching out through the front of the leg. And when you're ready, inhale, bring that left knee towards the chest. Again, scoop everything in. Navel to spine, ribs drawn in, round into the upper back. Make as much space as you can to draw the left knee towards the chin and the chest, and then step it through. Dropping the back knee and tucking the toes. And take a moment to come up into your low lunge position. Taking the hands to the hips. And let's tuck the back toes. Again, lift the knee. And then bend the knee slightly. Think about the pelvic position again. Tuck the tailbone under. Take your imaginary belt buckle and turn it to face up towards you, towards the sky. You're maintaining this so you can start to straighten into your back leg. Keep breathing here, holding it nice and strong. Really nice. Okay, bring the hands down to the inside of your left foot now. We're going to heel toe the left foot to the outer edge of the mat. Roll to the outside of that left foot, and the left hand now comes to the inside of the thigh.
Roll the thigh out, grabbing it nice firmly, seeming like a bit of a massage. It's quite nice, encouraging it to open out. You're welcome to keep working here, or we'll take an inhale and reach that left arm to the sky, and then reach it back behind you. Inhale the left arm up, and exhale, bring it back down. Can you draw the left leg back into the center? So we're now coming into this position where we can keep the hands on the floor, or if your body allows, you can take your forearms down. But hands or forearms are going to press into the floor, you're going to round into your upper back, nice and strong in the upper body. And if you feel like you've got energy to take it further than that, you can tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, and reach that right heel way behind you. And allow those hips to soften down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can take the right knee back down and tuck the toes. You're going to heel toe that left foot back into the center and bring your left hand back to the outside. Okay, so activation of the upper body before we step back. Move myself around. Okay, so then tuck those back toes and lift the knee. Hands are about shoulder width apart. And press into the floor again. Compress your upper body. So the front of the body is compressed, rounding in as much as you can. Keep the left knee connected to the chest and lift the foot. And then take the foot back to plank. Optional vinyasa, or go to downward facing dog or child's pose. Wherever you are, come back to sit on your heels. Okay, so I want to do a little bit more of leg and hip work, just a short amount more, and then we'll start to look at some shapes. So we're going to look at shapes in headstand first and the entrance into them, so we know where we want our hips to be at what point and what we want our legs to be doing. Okay, but before we do that, we're just going to do a little bit more in the hips. So to do this, we need to come into a seated position. And you're going to bring your legs out in front of you. I'm going to turn so that you can see me better from this angle. So, options. We're going to have lots of options here. We're going to make sure first that you're sitting up nice and tall again. Okay, so we don't want any rounding in the back at all. As we do these exercises, we're going to be doing it in time slots again. So if you find that you start to tire, most likely you'll start to lean back because it feels easier when you lean back. But really be mindful to keep the chest up and that spine long. We're going to take the hands either side of the legs. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. So hands either side of the legs. Excuse me. Okay, hands either side of the legs. So the closer the hands are to your hips, the easier it will be to keep the spine long and lift the legs. Okay? The further the hands are down the legs, the harder it feels. Okay, so you're going to play with it and see what works for your own body. And I'm going to demonstrate about halfway down the thigh. Okay? But again, see what works for you. So we're going to do one leg at a time first. But first we want the legs to be pointed and straight, so we're still reaching out through the front of the legs and nice and active. We're going to be lifting the right leg and pulsing it. Okay, and then lowering it down, and then doing the same on the left side.
And then once we've done those 2 sets, we're going to do both legs. Okay, you can see straight away, as soon as I did both legs, I already started to round in. You really make an effort to keep it long. Okay, so let me see, we're going to do this in time slots. I'm just going to set my timer again. We're going to do 30 seconds on each leg, and then 30 seconds both legs. So when you're ready, take your position, right leg first. I'm going to lift it up and pulse it. Pulse it. Keep pointing the toes on both legs. Keep the chest lifted, spine long. Keep going. Hands are flat on your mat, just past halfway. Keep breathing. We're at 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax the leg down. You want to give them a little shiggle. And then we'll move straight on to the other side. Okay, so same position, this time left leg. Lifting the left leg up and pulsing it. Up and down. So something to keep in mind here is if you feel like you're drawing your hip into your socket and then lift it, it's actually feels a little bit easier. So give it a go. So you're thinking about drawing it in and then lifting it up. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. We'll take both thighs with the hands and just give them a little shake out. Massage them a little bit before we do both legs. Okay. Going for both legs this time, 30 seconds. So when you are ready, take your position and lift. You can keep your chest lifted, spine as long as you can. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, shaky legs. Yeah, and again, massage the thighs out. You feel like a little shiggle. Okay, we're going to take a straddle position because we'll be working on a straddle shape. Okay, so let's bring the legs wide. And we'll just take a moment to stretch out a little bit. So for stretching, it's healthier to have your feet flexed, okay, for this type of stretching. So we're going to flex the feet now and think about reaching the heels out in opposite directions. We're going to take 10 breaths. So I want you to use those 10 breaths as you like, okay? So if you feel super flexible already and you just want to fold into it and then breathe into it nice and deep throughout it all, that's fine. Okay, or you're going to take your 10 breaths to get into it, okay, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so we're just going to take your time if you want to take it slowly, okay? Taking nice, long and steady breaths. Just keep external rotation going. Okay, so you want the right knee, the knees pointing up towards the ceiling. And then let your exhale soften you further down each time you breathe. And so we're at 5. 8, 9, and 10. You're gently coming out. So slowly walk your hands back in. Take the hands under the knees and take a little bend. And then we'll draw the knees back in and hug them just for a moment. Okay, so we're going to move on now to look at shapes. First, we're going to look at them in headstand. So we're going to look at tuck position. So tuck position is with the knees drawn in towards the chest. Pike position, so you've got a kind of L shape. So the hips are, we've got a bend at the hips and the legs are coming out to the side. And then we're going to look at straddle where the legs are out. So same as your stretch you just did there,
but upside down. So we're going to first come and we're going to start in a tripod headstand position, because if you are new to headstands, this is quite a good place to start. You can start in a pro with the knees on the upper arms. So let's bring ourselves into a tripod headstand. To get there, we have our hands shoulder distance apart. We're going to already round into the upper back here. Okay, you see always activating the upper back straight away. So you're going to make a triangle shape with the crown of your head with your hands. Okay, so just checking in front of you where that third point of your triangle would be. If you find the right position, you'll have your elbows above your wrists. Okay, then we're going to straighten out the legs. So we're going to work on using as little energy as possible. So we want it all to be core strength, or most of the core strength if you can. Okay, so looking first at tuck. Coming to, so the front of the toes are on the floor. We're going to try and drag those knees in and then bring the legs up into a tuck. So when you see a tuck handstand, you'll see lots of variations. Some people might have the thighs really close to the chest. Some people might have it quite up. Okay, it depends on a lot of different factors, but you'll learn quite quickly which one your body works with well. Okay, so we're going to do tuck up and down. If you are comfortable with dragging the feet in, you're going to just work on bringing it up, opening it out, bringing it down, and lowering as slowly as you can. If you're not yet going up, bring the knees into the upper arms. Okay, so take 5 rounds of these, and then we'll look at our next shape. So if you need I'll be doing them fairly quickly, so you're welcome to pause and then do your 5 rounds and then come back, okay? I'll just keep demonstrating for another 4. 2. 3. 4. Okay, so once you've done 5 of those, we're going to look at pike shape. So pike, we're going to start the same. Drag the legs in. This time we want to take our hips slightly further back in order to lift the legs off the floor. Okay, we're looking to take them parallel to your mat. And then lower them down as slowly as you can again. And bring yourself back down to your shins. And back up. And down. 2. 3. 4. And 5. Good. So we've got tuck and pike shape. Okay, next one is our straddle position. So the idea here is I'm going to show you from here. So excuse the angle. Okay, so we're going to start with the legs together, and then we're going to take the legs out to the side. So if we do this, the hips then roll on top, they roll more on top of the shoulders, and then it's a little bit easier to lift the legs. And you'll take them as wide as you can out to the sides, and then bring them together. Okay, then to come down, take them as wide as they can, and then let the hips roll inwards to lower down. Then the belly curves in, draw the feet together, and then come back down onto the shins. Okay, so it's a opening, rolling, and then bringing together. And then to come back down, it's a opening, rolling, and then bringing it down and together. Okay, so really thinking about how they move here, it will help with getting you up. Okay, so taking a little bit of time to play with that. So try and take 5 of those in your headstand. And then when we've done those, we'll come to our next prep, which is more handstand focused now that we have looked at the shapes that we're going to be trying in our handstand. So if you are comfortable doing this freestanding, you're very welcome to do so. Otherwise, you have a wall option, which I'll show you next, because the first one we're going to do, we're not going to take the feet off the floor, we're just going to be looking at this compression, again, in the core and in the ribs area to find space. Make ourselves as little as possible here and as light as possible in order to get those hips up. So to prep for this, we're going to bring ourselves onto our shins, take our hands either side or slightly ahead. But you want to start with the shoulders directly over the wrists at all times. Okay, so we're avoiding doing kind of like a pushing into anything. We want it to be slow and controlled. So hands are in position, shoulders are over wrists. I am on my shins with my toes untucked at the moment, but I'm going to tuck the toes under because I find it quite painful with the toes untucked. You might find it okay, so you can play around with it, but I'm going to do it with the toes tucked in. So all we're going to do is inhale, round into the upper back. As you exhale, you're going to lift the hips high, take your head through, and gaze towards your knees. And bring the knees down. Inhale, round into the upper back. Exhale, take the legs up, the hips up, and bring it back down. Okay, we're going to do another 8. Inhale, rounding in. Exhale, up and down. Inhale, round. Exhale, up and down. Inhale, round. Exhale, up and down. 5. Inhale, round. Exhale, up and down. 6. Inhale. Exhale, up and down. 7. Inhale. Exhale, up and down. 8. Inhale. Exhale, up, down. Inhale. Exhale, up and down. Last one. Inhale, rounding. Exhale, up and down. Okay, give yourself a moment's rest and tuck your toes. You might want a glass of water. Okay, and then I will show you what we're going to do at the wall. So in the order that we did in our headstand, we're going to look at the same shapes. So we're going to look at tuck, handstand first. I'm just going to maneuver my mat slightly to make it easier. So if we're doing it next to the wall, you can start a little bit higher if you like, because you do want to give yourself the best chance of getting up. Okay, so make sure your hands from the get-go are shoulder width apart. First finger pointing forward, knuckles are pressing down, fingertips are pointing down. You've got that doming in the fingers. And round into your upper back. Okay, so you can start with your knees on the floor, or if you want to start in this position, you're welcome to. Just make sure that you always keep shoulders over wrists and you're not going back and then up. Okay, so I'm going to take a bend into the knees and you're going to hop up. Okay, this might be it for today. I'm going to go up and down. If you got the wall there, trust that the wall will catch you. So you're going to go up, find the wall, and then see if you can bring a knee in towards the chest. Okay, feel that lengthening in the lower back, and think about what we spoke about at the shoulders and the ribs. Okay, you can change legs, or see if you can find both legs. So I'm going to play with this. I'm going to give you a minute to play with this. You're going to go up. You either want to work on jumping up, so you're just going to repeatedly jump and not thinking too much about the hold. Or if you're already holding it at the wall, think about really sucking one knee in and being as light as you can on the other foot and then switching it over. Okay, I'll demonstrate a couple more so you can see where we're at. Okay, one thing I'm going to mention, because I haven't mentioned it yet, is the gazing point. If you're working with the wall, I recommend that you take your gaze through your arms, because this helps with alignment of the shoulders. Okay, so if you gaze through, everything lines up easier. If you try to gaze between your hands, there's a tendency for your ribs to flare and your lower back to round. Okay, whereas if you just look ahead, It's easier to suck everything into that nice straight central line. Okay, so keep going up to your tuck and down. Up. Keep pushing the shoulders, playing with the fingertips, giving yourself some trust and chance that you might find some float time. Coming down when you need to. So we're going to move on to the next shape. Again, if you want to play longer with this, just pause it and then come back to us when you're ready. So the next one is pike position. I'm going to demonstrate this one away from the wall. Okay, just in case anyone's working with it, it's going to be the same whether you do it at the wall or freestanding. The same idea in terms of getting up. You just have the wall there if you're concerned about falling. So for our pike, you can go in from shins, okay, or you can start with your bum a bit higher. Okay, but either way, you're still keeping those shoulders over the wrist to start. Okay, the idea is we want to take the hips up and over the shoulders. Okay, go up and over. Keep the legs straight and point through the toes. We don't want to worry about holding it. We want to first get our body used to the movement of it. Okay, and then if you find that you start to find some hold time, you can start to tweak it and play around with what happens when you do this and what happens when you do that. And like, oh yes, I should straighten my legs a bit more, point my toes a bit more. In the moment, we're just looking at getting up and down to familiarize our bodies with the different shapes that we can make. Okay, so taking a few more goes with our pike shape. You just keep checking in with yourself. You need to take a little breather. Make sure you take it. Yeah, so you don't need to be coming totally off the floor. You can just do a little hop so your feet just come off. As long as you're keeping the upper body tense, keeping those things in mind. So great for your steps to your handstand. Okay, so moving on from our pike shape, we're going to now look at our straddle. Again, welcome to do this at the wall. Okay, so we're doing the same as before, as you did in your headstand. You want to take your hips up first, and then bring the legs out and roll the legs open, and then bring the legs together. Okay, so really think about the steps of the opening of your straddle. Okay, so starting from shins or bum high. Okay, remembering not to launch yourself into it. You take the hips up, legs out, and then go to the side. Okay, so just play with making the shape. Don't worry about holding. I'm very tired today. Okay. So I'd love to hear how you get on with these exercises and if there is any particular tips that you would like. So if you have anything, please add it to the chat and I'll answer it for you. Okay, I'm going to give you one more exercise that you might like to work with, either now pausing the class and then playing with it, or for another time, which is the best one for finding your straight handstand shape. Okay, it requires a little bit of courage, or perhaps if you have someone around, it might be helpful to have someone spot you. But I will give you a few variations to try. Okay, so work depending on your confidence level. You can hopefully choose one that works for you. So finding a straight handstand, we're going to look at using the wall. Okay, so we're going to start by standing in front of your wall with your hands and arms extended out in front of you, with your fingertips grazing the wall, making sure that your body's straight. And then we're just going to turn around where our feet are, take our hands just in front of where the feet were. Okay, this may not work for everyone because we've all got different limb lengths, but it works for me, so give it a go. Okay, hands come in front, already finding the right position for your handstand hands. And then we take one leg to the wall, push against the wall, and then bring the other leg up. And you're going to first find a downward facing dog at the wall. So already here, you're going to think about pushing the floor away, drawing those shoulder blades around the body. See if you can find some roundness in the upper back. Draw the ribs in. Think about pushing your pelvis forward and lengthening out your lower back. Okay, this might be enough. You might want to just work with taking 5 breaths here. If you're comfortable here, you're going to switch one leg up. So it's quite helpful to have someone around to tell you if your right foot is stacked over your hip. So your extended foot stacked over your hip. And then that leg is going to reach, toes pointing up towards the sky, really pushing forward with the hands and finding length. And then we're just going to switch the legs over and do the other side. Push, 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 and reach with the foot. Reach, 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 reach. And then bring the leg back to the wall. And then slowly walk yourself down. Okay, so that's our first option for looking at the straight shape. Our second option is walking closer to the wall. Okay, so we're going to be looking more for a completely straight body shape here. So you get in the same way as you did previously. One leg to the wall and the other leg up. Okay, and then you can walk your legs up the wall. Turn the feet so the front of the feet are on the wall. You need to always think about pushing your hips forward and really like lengthening out through the front of the thighs. Think about that belt buckle and that will be pointing towards the floor. And push the floor away. Straight body shape. Okay, taking 5 breaths here. And when you're ready, walk the feet down and lower to the floor. Okay, this is option 2. Option 3, we're going to be walking further in towards the wall. I'm going to maneuver my mat again so that I make sure I have a good surface for my hands. Okay, so for this one, keep in mind that you need enough energy to walk the hands back out again. Okay, so as soon as you start to feel a bit tired, just keep in mind that you need that energy to get yourself out of it. So for this one, you enter as we have previously. Okay, we're going to walk your hands as far in towards the wall as you can. And then, ideally, you want your nose and the tips of the toes being the only thing on the wall. I'm not getting so close because I don't have a flat wall surface here. Okay, but ideally you want just your nose and your toes touching the floor. You're going to think about pushing your hips forward towards the wall and push the floor away, super strong shoulders. You're going to hold this for your 5 breaths. And then when you're ready, you need to walk the hands out and come down as gracefully as you can. Okay, so there's lots to play with there. Very happy to give any further tips. So please do feel free to ask. Okay, so we're running out of time. I'm just going to give you a quick stretch of the shoulders and the wrists and forearms here because we just did quite a lot on that. Okay, so let's come into a tabletop position and we're going to turn the hand so the fingers point in towards the knees. Fingers point in towards the knees. And then you're going to take your bum back a little, so I'll turn so you can see me. And take the bum back so that you feel more stretch through the front of the wrists. You're going really slow. If you're one of these people who don't feel anything here, try bending your elbows a little bit. And keep breathing. First, bring the weight back up. So again, lift the bum and bring the weight forward first, and then gently release the hands. Come to sit on your heels. We're going to take our thumb and our first finger around the left wrist, and we're going to massage it. So massaging the thumb into the front of the wrist and the first finger in the back of the wrist. And then on the sides as well, allow the hand to be floppy and soft. But then you can also massage up your forearm with your thumb. Moving on to the other side. So left thumb and left first finger, wrap around. The wrist, we'll do the front and back first. Massage it out. And come to the outside. Let hand be soft and floppy. And then let that massage come down into your forearm. Making circular motions with thumb. And release the hands. Let's bring the hands now behind us and interlace them at the base of the skull. From there, we're going to bring the chin in towards the chest and allow our backs to round. Okay, so allow yourself to round into your upper back. Draw your chin in towards your chest and just create a little bit more length at the back of the neck by drawing. So you try to draw your skull away from the top of your spine. You might like to bring yourself forward a little. And you keep the shoulder blades drawing down away from the ears. And let yourself roll up. Lift the head, release the arms. And then bring yourself into your Shavasana. Okay, so come and lie down flat on your back. If you wanted to pause and do any other stretches you feel that your body needs, of course, that would be perfect time to do that now. Otherwise, come and lie down. And give yourself at least 5 minutes of relaxation time. Okay, I'm going to turn the recording off because I've gone over time. Okay, but please do take time to relax afterwards. And thank you for joining me. Again, any questions, please do let me know. I love to receive feedback. Okay, and enjoy the rest of your day.